Welcome. Coming up, another snippet on In His Will. Hang on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to In His Will for another snippet. I'm Debbie Bird Smith, and I love doing these little snippets. I think you guys seem to enjoy them, so it helps break down these big readings into understandable chunks. And I ran across this one. This one is actually from volume 11. It's from May 25th of 1915. And the heading on this is Men are obedient to governments which use violence, but not to God who uses love. That was a very interesting reading. And we've been talking about forgiveness. And this particular reading also talks about forgiveness. Forgiveness is essential. If you want to live a higher level of life, if you want to live a higher level of spirituality, if you want to reach a higher level of awareness and of sanctity, forgiveness is imperative. And so Jesus is speaking to Luisa and about several things in this reading. Luisa starts, as I was in my usual state, my always lovable Jesus made himself seen for just a little and told me, my daughter, the scourge is great, yet the peoples do not stir themselves. Rather, they remain almost indifferent, as if they had to be present at a tragic scene, not a reality. Instead of coming all unanimous to cry at my feet, employ mercy and forgiveness, they stand at attention to hear what is happening. Oh, my daughter, how great is human perfidy. Look at how obedient they are to governments, priests, lay people. Do not demand anything, do not refuse sacrifices, and must be ready to give their own lives. For me, only there was no obedience and no sacrifices. And if they did anything at all, it was more pretensions and interests. This because the government uses violence, but I make use of love. Yet this love is disregarded by creatures. They remain indifferent as if I did not deserve anything from them. As he was saying this, he burst into tears. What a cruel torment to see Jesus crying. Then he continued, but blood and fire will purify everything and will restore the repentant man. And the more he delays, the more blood will be shed, and the carnage will be such as man has never imagined. While saying this, he showed the human carnage, what torment to live in these times. But may the divine volition be always done. Sometimes we read these types of readings and we think, oh my goodness, what a threat. Jesus is threatening us, right? He's threatening us. He says, well, the more you do this, the more blood and fire, the more you put off, the more you're going to get. I want to remind us all, it's not God doing this to us. It's us doing it to ourselves. We do this to ourselves. We choose men over God. We choose things over holiness. We choose recognition over humility. We do this to ourselves. We bend to governments. We bend to unjust laws. We bend to a lot of things that we should be kicking up our heels about. We should be pushing back. But sometimes it feels useless. It feels hopeless. It feels, what's the point? The government's bigger than we are. Nobody's bigger than God. Nobody, nothing is bigger than God. So how much faith do we really have? How much faith do we have? You know, the Israelites spent 40 years in the desert for what, like a 2-week trip? Because they didn't have faith. They moaned and groaned and grumbled and complained and disobeyed. Sometimes don't you feel like you're going around and around and around the same mountain over and over again and never learn your lesson? I know I have many times. Many, many times. Sometimes it takes me multiple trips to understand that my pride was acting, not my mercy, not my forgiveness, not my humility, not my love, certainly. When we're acting in love, we know it. We're not acting in love, we know it. In this particular reading, he's talking about governments and how we bow to governments, how we cave. And Lord knows if we don't know about caving to government by now, I don't think we're ever going to learn that lesson. We caved. We caved. We caved to the evil one. We caved to greed. We caved to so many things. And when we see that we've made a mistake, are we asking for forgiveness? Are we asking for mercy? Are we changing our ways? Are we changing our attitude? Are we changing our approach to things? My mother was a Gibson. And the Gibson clan is part of the Buchanan clan, Irish Buchanans. And some people know that Irish may have a little bit of a temper, may have a little bit of a strong will. Something that we acquire. I've never lived in Scotland. My mother never lived in Scotland. But I have no doubt that she grew up in a family of strong-willed people. And so sometimes my mouth overloads my brain. I've acted before I thought. I've done more harm than good when I thought I was right. Well, I'm right. I have a right to do this. I'm right. I'm going to show these people I'm wrong. They're wrong. I'm right. You can do that to me? Yes, I've done it. I've done it. I've asked for forgiveness where I can. I've asked God for forgiveness where I wasn't able to ask forgiveness of the people that I'd hurt or the people who were, you know, in the crossfires of all of, you know, my self-will run riot, my anger, my self-will. In the divine will, we're taught to surrender our self-will, surrender our will, acquire the will of God, act in the will of God, not in our own selfish, greedy, prideful will. It says the government uses violence, but we use love. The government, rulers, they want to use power and strength as they see it, as a way of taking and keeping control. But those of us who live in the will of God, those of us who live in the divine will, feel a higher calling. No, 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 no. We don't push our own will. This is not what the divine will is about. Making your own will supreme and superior and hoping that it will prevail. It's not what it's about. It's about surrendering our will and allowing God's will to prevail. And whether we like it or not, God's will does prevail. One way or the other. We pay the price. We absolutely pay the price for our own will, getting our own way at all costs. Now, make no mistake, we're allowed to defend our lives, but do we realize that we live under divine protection also? Do you live in gratitude or ingratitude? Are you grateful for your divine protection? Are you grateful that you live in a free country? Are you grateful that you have freedom where you live? Maybe you don't have much freedom where you live. You know, my webcasts go out all over the world, and I know that many of you, all of us to some degree, have lost freedoms, have lost rights, have lost whatever from our governments. But God is calling us not to depend and look to governments, but to look to Him, to look to the divine will. Remember, in the divine will, everything is done, finished, completed, perfectly. And it's suspended. It's just in the waiting. It's there. It's already done. Everything that's going to be done is already done to perfection. So what happens? Well, we impose our own will, which is, you know, the primary principle that God has given us to live our lives by. Because if I don't give you your own will, what's it all worth? What does it all mean? You're just a bunch of robots. You're just a bunch of automatons walking around the world, doing what I tell you to do. No, no, no. He wants our love. God is love. He's love. He's love. He's love. He wants our love. How do we resemble God? Love. How do we live in His will? Love. How do we get that? Surrender. Surrender. And the more we align ourselves with that energy of love, of surrender, of trust in God, the more peaceful our lives are. There's something about whirling dervishes, you know? Chaos. What's that whole theory of chaos? Let them whirl. God is in control. And if we align ourselves with that energy, with that will, with that law and love of God, we're going to be in right alignment. I know people, we are praying tonight. This is July the 7th of 2025. We're praying tonight for all the victims of the terrible, terrible flood in Texas. Most tragically, it ripped through a girls' Christian camp. Little girls, little 13-year-old girls, little 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old girls drowning in this terrible flood. Some were found, some were not. Entire families were wiped out. We wonder, where did this come from? How did this happen? How does God allow this? Father Rippenger always says, we get the leaders we deserve. Don't blame the government. You put them there. We put them in office. We put them there, especially in the United States and free countries where we vote. That may not be true in all countries that are, but maybe it is. So I think what this reading is suggesting is place God first. Remember that God is in control. Remember that God has the last word and that he can do anything, if we conform ourselves to his will. It's when we surrender our own will and live in God's will. Things happen rightly. The things happen in order. Everything is chaos. Everything is out of order because of our own will. Because we decided that somehow we knew better. We could run things. We pushed God out. We need to ask forgiveness every day for pushing God out in whatever ways, large or small, that we're doing it in our lives, because we're doing it. We're absolutely doing it. Some days we're not as patient, we're not as kind, we're not as forgiving, we're not as loving as he calls us to be. But if you want true peace, if you want real peace, genuine peace, genuine love, genuine kindness, if we want to be elevated to something that operates above this world, the greed and the jealousy, the envy and the greed, we have to do something different. We have to be different. We have to live differently. We have to seek answers differently. Not in the government, but in God. He gives us all the answers. We have all the answers. What we're missing is our motivation and the strength to seek them and to live them out. That's what's missing. He's not withholding from us. We're not taking. We're not opening the box, taking out the gifts. So, I don't know. As usual, I ramble on and don't know if I'm making any sense to anyone but myself. But I thought this was a beautiful reading. And oh my gosh, we have so much going on in our governments. We have so much going on in our world. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. So overwhelming. It's like, oh my gosh, how did we get into this now? How did we get out? Everything's upside down and backwards. It's okay. Look at your own life first. Is your own life upside down and backwards? Well, clean it up. Get it straightened out. If you've made mistakes, write them. However way you can. Make the apology, pay back the money, change your attitude, work a little harder, give a little more. Make your life conform with what God is asking of you. We suffer from our own lack of virtue, lack of obedience, lack of kindness, sharing, love. So it's wrong. It's very simple. The divine will is very simple. God is very simple, very deep. It's mysteries that we'll never uncover. Mysteries that are far beyond us. Because God is far beyond us. But he says we can be fused with him in the divine will. We can be one with him. And we can get in on some of the good stuff. Just have to make our will disappear and live in his will. Not easy. It takes thought. It takes thoughtful action. But it certainly is possible. And when you do, you will live a life of peace, of love, of order. Good things will come to you. Good people will come to you. You'll have total forgiveness in your heart. All these people that have hurt you so badly that you've thought, I could never forgive. I could never forget. I could never move on. It doesn't mean that you have to keep, putting yourself out there for people to hurt you. But it does mean that you have to forgive them for the hurts that's been done. And then just don't make yourself available to it anymore. Sometimes we have to cut off our relationships. Sometimes it doesn't work. Some other times people cut us off, even if we don't want to be. Sometimes we don't even get a chance to say, I'm sorry, or I forgive you. But God knows. God knows. And that's the most important thing. Because he will honor that. He will recognize that. God sometimes takes people out of our lives for all kinds of different reasons, in all kinds of different ways. But we have to trust. We have to forgive. We try to continue to live our lives in alignment with him. So, okay, I've rambled on enough. God bless you. Please, like the video over here. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and then you'll get the notifications when these snippets come up. I'd love to read your comments. I read all the comments. The good, the bad, the ugly. All the comments. I want to hear what you're saying. I feel like, we have a community here. I want to build community. I want us to have community. And if you're not in a Divine Will CENACLE and would like to study with me, you could just write to me at my email here, and I will, and let me know, and I'll send you the link to my Divine Will CENACLEs where we study. And you can come in, they're small groups, and we kind of dive deeper into the Divine Will. And of course, we have things on the channel. We should have some new guests coming up pretty soon. Dan Shiles hopefully will be here pretty soon, and we want to get Mother Gabriel here and some of our friends in the Divine Will. You meet the most magnificent people here in the Divine Will. People who want to live in peace, in order, and forgiveness, and love. Who want to align themselves with God's great energy, His great power. And we could have all of that. But not in rebellion. Not in rebellion. So, until next time, please remember to always stay in His will. Bye-bye.